Welcome to the Rowell Report. I am almost embarrassed to read to you the text of a Truth Social post of the man who was supposed to get us out of foreign conflicts, to get us out of misadventures, of endless wasteful spending on wartime nation building, and to take that money and put it into the U.S. economy to improve the lives of ordinary, hardworking U.S. citizens who had burdened the cost of all these endless wars and misadventures. So now this person who had promised to bring about an era of peace, of prosperity, of building this country, of putting this country first, we are embroiled in another foreign war, which he doesn't even call a war. He just calls it something else. It's an operation. It's planet-saving measures. I don't know. You can put your own title on it. But anyway, the promise that the Iranian people made was to close the Strait of Hormuz in case they were attacked. They have done that. Now oil prices begin to rise. The price of gas at the pumps begins to rise. Of course, everything in this country, in the United States, runs on trucks and cars. So once you start upping the price of energy, then transportation costs go up. They pass that off to the consumer in the form of higher prices, and then those higher prices lead to inflation. And so we were expecting a reduction in the interest rate from the Fed. Now we could be heading towards an increase. So we were supposed to be getting 2 reductions this year. We could be getting a whole bunch of increases depending on how high the energy costs go. So President Trump, seeing that his political ambitions could be curtailed, has launched out in this Truth Social post against Iran for closing the Strait of Hormuz, but he puts it strangely in the future tense. So I'll read to you the text of this Truth Social post and make a brief comment so I can close out this video. So here it is. You can see the Truth Social post. So I'm taking this Truth Social post directly from Truth Social. And so here we go. If Iran does anything that stops the flow of oil in capital within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the United States of America 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far. Additionally, we will take out easily destroyable targets that will make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever be built back as a nation. Again, death, fire, fury will rain down upon them. But I hope and pray that it does not happen. This is a gift from the United States of America to China and all those nations that heavily use the Hormuz Strait. Hopefully, it is a gesture that will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And there we have the person's name who put this post. So you can see. I will put this text in the description box below so you can see the text yourself. And of course, if you have a Truth Social account, you can go to that account and see the message and you see whose name that is. So anyway, why is this disturbing? Because United States presidents generally don't threaten countries with bombing them back to the Stone Age, especially over oil. So if you go back to the whole negotiation process, Iran basically had offered to the United States an offer that was better than the JCPOA. which was the agreement negotiated between Iran and President Obama. So President Trump said that this agreement was dangerous, that it would not stop Iran from getting the nuclear bomb, even though the JCPOA included endless inspections and interviews of Iranian nuclear scientists. So anyway, we are now looking at someone threatening Iran with death, fire, fury, and all these look to be essentially war crimes. So we not only didn't get the peace president that was supposed to be elected, but we got something completely different. We got the war president. He even changed the Department of Defense to Department of War. Somehow, between the time that the promises were made to get us out of these forever wars and today, something happened. It's hard to say what exactly, at what point the change was made, but we all heard the promises that were made, and those who elected this man to be president did so for a reason based off of promises which now seem to be empty and misleading, to say the least. So he also promised to take out easily destroyable targets. That sounds like civilian infrastructure. That sounds like where people live. And to make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever be built back as a nation again. Of course, what does that really mean? What is in his plans? This doesn't sound like a peace and human rights loving attitude, which supposedly Western democracies are supposed to represent. So this is something that is completely embarrassing to me as a citizen of this country. And the silence of the world leaders when these posts are put out is astounding. Essentially, many nations have become simply vassal nations of this great economic power, and this is worrisome because where the United States leads, many of these countries will follow, and where the world is going now seems to be in a very dark place. So I am embarrassed by these statements. This isn't the person that was promised as the leader of this country. This isn't what we had voted for. So anyway, I think I'll just go ahead and leave it there. But why in the very first sentence did the president put this in future tense if it's already happening? And that what is already happening is what is causing the panic. So it's his panic is coming from the Strait of Hormuz being closed and the price of oil going up, and the fact that Iran is making strikes on basically by closing the Strait of Hormuz, Iran doesn't really need to destroy the oil infrastructure in the Gulf states. They just need to keep the strait closed for about a month or two, and all these oil fields will have to be closed. That causes damage to the oil fields. Also, the processing plants for the oil or the natural gas also need to be shut down. The startup process will be very long and slow. So, simply opening the Strait of Hormuz will not alleviate the energy costs. They will continue to rise as inventories and stored energy continues to be depleted. Some countries only have a few days, some only have a few weeks of energy stored, and once that's used up, then they will have to ration. The prices will go up, skyrocketing in many places. In some places they already have done that. So this is only making the situation worse. It's not making it better. And I am embarrassed that a president of a country that proclaims to be someone to help the world towards building a better planet, to help countries become better places to live. We're just going in the opposite direction. So this is completely embarrassing, and I feel that unfortunately the person leading the United States is starting to go down a winding path into an echo chamber, and there's no one there to tell him that he needs to back off and to start to get his senses back. So possibly there is some health issues that are unresolved. Possibly there's sleep deprivation. It's hard to say, but these kind of statements about returning countries to the Stone Age really is not anything that a president of the United States should ever utter. So I am completely embarrassed, but I wanted to bring that to your attention, and I think that the next upcoming elections will be very hard on the Republican Party, and they had this time from January of last year until now to carry out an agenda which would have improved the lives of the ordinary citizens in the United States, to get us out of all this unending expenditures on hard power and soft power and regime changes and all these covert operations which require huge amounts of money and personnel and resources. So to take all that, put it back into this country, that was what was supposed to happen. We got the opposite. So I think in the upcoming elections it's going to go very poorly for the Republican Party, and once they're in a minority, then what are they going to do to achieve their agenda items? So I see things going very negatively in this country and in this conflict with Iran. We're starting to see some marbles being strewn about, and once the marbles are lost, then what are we going to do? So this is the man with the finger on the nuclear button, and this could put us into an even more precarious situation on the planet. So what are we going to do? What can we do? I don't see there is much we can do. Hopefully the people surrounding the president can try to talk some sense into him, but we're starting to see this path opening up, which is very dark, and it doesn't it is a one-way street to something much bigger and wider, and something that he will not be able to control once it's unleashed. So I'll leave it at that, and thank you for joining me for this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you back in future videos. Thanks for joining me, and have a good day. Bye-bye.